Hello, this is the UKSF AN PRC-163 mod showcase for Acre 2. It's basically be a crash course going through how the radio works, how to use it, and explaining some things about it. So, off the bat, you'll see two new inventory items, PRC-163, 163 battery. We're going to grab both just for the purpose of the showcase. And whilst I walk over to get us a bit less of a grey background, it's worth noting that you will need Acre, ACE, and CBA for this mod to function correctly. If you don't have those, then things aren't going to go right for you. Okay. Awesome. First step, opening the radio. Standard Acre things work for it, so you can go into your inventory, double click, and then open. Alternatively, you can go into self-interact through ACE radios and then open after you've gone into the 163. And then whatever your default bind is, mine is Control P, that might be the default, brings open the radio. Cool. Okay. This is two radios in one. Much like the real 163, it's two radios in one radio. And that's working in Acre, and it works quite well. So I'll get into that a little bit more later, but it's important you understand that because that is the core part of the radio. I'm going to refer to two things here, RT1 and RT2. For the purpose of this, it's the ports on the radio. They don't have antennas in, but that's what RT1 and RT2 would be referring to. You can kind of think of it as RT1 is one radio inside this 163, RT2 is the other, because it stores its own preset, frequency, volume, ear routing, transmit power, receive, and transmit state. Meaning, if you change a setting on RT1, it's not going to automatically change on RT2. So you could have RT1 come through on one channel on the left ear, and then RT2 on another on the right ear. You can also have them at different volumes if that's something that you want to do. Okay. Selecting an RT. We'll get into this screen a little bit more detail momentarily, but for what you need to know now, you have view loss PT here, view loss PT here. That is RT1, that is RT2. It's like a tab in your browser, right? If I were to swap between them, this would become the active one, and I'll show you that soon. But you have that, right? And that shows it. Why is it not RT1? Why is it not RT2? Because it shows the waveform that RT1 and 2 are on. You might have, I don't know, view loss and Mane, autism or Katana, whatever. We've just gone for the ones that we see most on reference images. Okay. It's also going to determine the active RT, so RT1 right now, it's going to determine what lines adjusted through the menus when we do that, and also the buttons. And it's also going to determine what line is available when dual watch is off. Now, when it comes to changing between RTs, you can do it through the RT select options that are on the side. You can do it through ACE, or you can do it through up and down here. Down is going to take us to RT2. Up is going to take us to RT1. See how the tab changes and the information changes with it? You can see RT1's active there, RT2's active here. If we want to change it via the side, you hover over here, go to view side controls. We just done for a 90-degree snap because we didn't really think doing the animation was worth it with 90 different frames and what have you. But if you left click, you get RT1, right click, you get RT2. So go here, wow, we're on RT2. The other way to change it, ACE self-interact, radios, 163, and then you'll see a star based on whatever RT is active. You just go here, set as active. Awesome. Okay. So, back in, we're on RT1. Before we progress into anything else, I'm just going to show you the radio turning off. So you can do it either through the main menu, which I'll show you later, or through the channel knob at the top right. And you just right-click that when you're at P01, which it does say if you read the text there. And we're off. Okay. LCD's blank, RT endpoints are unavailable, radio can't transmit, it can't receive. You can't do anything, right? And this is what it'll look like when you run out of battery as well. To turn it back on, we're just going to left click. We get L3 Harris, which is the real company who makes this radio, and a nice little loading screen. Awesome. You can't transmit or receive when when startup's happening, so don't bother. And now we've got the home screen again. I've gone over some things already, but just for posterity, I'll make sure we cover everything. So off the bat, we have DW on. That's dual watch, and that dual is in two. It's basically listening to both RTs at the same time. If it's on, you can hear from both RT no matter what. If it's off, you will only hear from the one that's active. So if it's off right now, I would only hear from RT1. Awesome. Mission time, so that corresponds to the in-game time. It's just another clock, basically. It's there in real life. We figured why not do something cool with it. Battery status, that shows you the percentage of your battery. Basically, we're probably around like 95% looking at that. But there's other ways we can get a more precise reading. Going down, we have the RT1 and RT2 tabs, as I like to call them. There is also the MM mission module, but that's cosmetic. That's just there because it's there in the real thing. We don't have that in this mod. Next, you'll see a B. That symbolizes what ears the audio is going to come through for this RT. So you can have it as left, and it'll be L. R would be right, and then B is obviously both. And this won't persist. So if I set this between RTs, basically. Sorry, it will persist. If I set this as L, and then swapped over to RT2 and set that as R, and I swap between them, that's it. RT1 is L, RT1 is R until I change them. They're independent of each other, is what I'm trying to say. You'll see vol and then a bar. That's volume. Nice and easy. You have some designisms here, basically just based on the 163 itself. And then channel name and then preset. So you might be used, if you've used the 152, you might be used to the channel preset being next to the name. Not the case here. Obviously, we got the name set. Yours might look a little bit more like this, in the sense it says FM Lost Fuck and 01 instead. Okay. On to the buttons. It's the same kind of as the 152, and it's pretty self-explanatory, and if you just hover over things, they'll tell you what does what. So plus minus for preset will change your channel. You can see there. That changes. You can do that with left and right as well, and you can also do it with the channel knob up here. Volume you can change up here with left click increase, right click decrease, and as I said, the volume on RT1 is independent from the volume on RT2, so yeah, you can have one be quiet and one be loud if you so please. In regards to the side buttons, only these two are there for the RT. The rest, it's either defunct because something already does it, or it's just not really. It's a real life thing over Arma, so we haven't included it. But that's there. There is also the means to change things via ACE. So as I showed earlier, you can set RT1, RT2 active here. You can also change the ears, left ear, right ear for each RT. You can also change dual watch off if you want to, and see some battery stuff, which we'll go over later. But we'll go back in here, and then we're going to go into the main menu to configure some things there. So to do that, you want to press 8, where it says PGM, Program. And we have 8 options here that you can basically configure the radio through here. So if we go enter, you will see RT1 is selected. We can go up or down, and then that will effectively, change and update, and RT2 will be selected. You have 2 options from here. You can press enter to go back to the home page, or you can press clear to go back to the main menu in case you need to configure anything else in here. If I want to change the preset, we'll go down 1 and then press enter, and you can see we're on RT1. It tells you the current channel name, and say I want to go to preset 11. I'm going to press that and press enter. Now we're on this. We can do the same. We'll go 01, enter. Awesome. Back to where we were. The volume you can also change through here, and that's left or right or plus and minus. And that's got the same thing in the sense of the first one, where you can press enter to go back to the home page, or just press clear and it'll persist if you want to continue doing things in the menu. we have audio. So as I said, you can change this in ACE, but this is the proper way to do it through the menu. So if we want RT1 to be left routing, we can do that there. If we press enter, you'll see it now says L. If we wanted it to be right, we could do that, and then it's going to do it. You now see R instead, right? I don't necessarily want either of those, so I'm going to flick it back to both and go back to the menu. Now we've got dual watch. You can turn this on via ACE, but you can see at the top left, it still says dual watch on. I want that off because I don't want the extra battery drain of listening to a net I'm not going to use. So let's turn it off. And now it says DW off. I will still be able to transmit to the second net on RT2. I just won't be able to hear it. Really something worth doing if you're not going to use two radios or two channels, to be fair. But for people like leadership, unless you're operating on like check-in times, I would absolutely have dual watch on. So we'll keep that on for now. Status is just going to give you a load of information about the radio itself, basically. So we have selected RT right at the top. You have your current preset that you've selected and the channel name there. Frequency, TX power, dual watch status, and then battery status, 94%, as you can see there. It wasn't far off, actually. Might have been right at one point. Power off is there, and then TX power right here. This is RT dependent, so as you can see, it says RT1 at the top. If I change this, it's not going to change in RT2. The reason you might want to do this is for, say, MCON signatures, if you want a low MCON signature. What it will do is, will basically, I mean, it's the transmission power, right? So it's going to change a few things, and that is really dependent on terrain, hills, buildings, elevation, acre propagation, map compatibility, all sorts like that. It works akin to the 152 from acre in that regard. So there's that, and we can set that for different things, for different RTs basically. But the point to hammer home is, whilst I'm on RT1, everything I'm doing here affects RT1 effectively. I mean, I suppose minus dual watch, as that affects both, or more so affects the other one. But if I want to change these settings here, and I want to do the same for RT2, I'm going to have to then swap to RT2 and do it. In regards to dual watch, it's important to note that if dual watch is off, you still, RT2 will still keep its preset. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say RT2. I should say the other RT will still keep its preset, keep its volume, ear routing, TX power. But the big thing is it doesn't receive until it's either swapped to as the active RT or dual watch is enabled. RT1 will be your acre push to talk 1 bind. So if I do this, you can see it says OpenNet A right there. That's RT1 for me. I'm holding caps lock right now. That's my push to talk 1. If I were to hold my push to talk 2 and want to transmit on RT2, control caps lock, you can see it's on Z11, which is the channel that RT2 is set to. The other thing is, obviously the eagle-eyed of you might spot, is it says PRC-163 there, but it does not say PRC-163 there, and that's because the RT system, I guess, or the RT2 is working off the vehicle rack system, in the sense that it's not using like a visible radio entity, so it basically allows the 163 to work that way, and that's the best way we found to do it. If there's better ways that people know of that we haven't discovered, please be our guest and let us know, and maybe we can look into it. But we found that that's the best way to do it, outside of just having 2 radios, which we created this mod to, not have to do that. Okay, onto the battery. I showed you the status page earlier, and you could see the battery status. You also have the battery status bar right here. Generally, those are 2 ways you can do it. The other way is through ACE. So we can go to status there, and it will tell us battery at 93%. or you can go into the battery bit and do check battery just for specifically the battery. It will have the actual battery percentage and the health of the battery there. If you're curious what the health of the battery is, think like old crappy iPhone that maybe many of us have had, maybe not. But you can check the battery health on the settings part of that. And if you have crappy battery health, your battery's going to drain quicker. Okay. If you have low charge, you're going to hear a warning tone. No one else will hear it. It just plays for you. And that basically indicates that the battery needs to be replaced soon. If the battery reaches 0, it's going to stop, transmission stop, receiving stop, and the radio is just going to be a blank LCD screen until you've got a new battery. If you need to replace the battery, what you can do is you do it through ACE. You go to here and then battery and replace battery. I'm going to do a nice little task thing there that ACE has, and it'll tell you the battery's replaced. We go in here, check the battery. Wow, 100%. You'll also see that the battery item has been consumed and our radio is off because we swapped the battery. Turn it back on. And there we go. Would you look at that? Awesome. Okay. We're back and we now have 100% battery. Something to consider is that effectively we have ground spike support. Ground spike antenna and ground spike masts from Acre are supported. So you can plug this 163 up and it'll boost the transmission power and do it basically through the Acre system. So that is something to consider for those who need it. And say you're in an environment where you don't want to use 117, that might be useful. You can carry 2 163s. The thing to be mindful of is that Acre natively only has 3 push-to-talk options. So your first 2 will be dedicated to the what do you call it? To RT1 and RT2, and the second one you'll basically have to cycle, unless you want to only be able to use one channel on the second 163. You'll have to cycle between active radio using Acre's normal system. But each physical radio has its own RT1, RT2, battery, active line, dual watch state, audio routing, all of that. They are their own independent radios and they shouldn't interfere with each other. Okay. Awesome. That is effectively everything there is to know about the PRC-163. There's a list of troubleshooting things on the GitHub, which you can have a look at. But I can't recommend reading that GitHub documentation more highly. It's made by Obscurans, the guy who made this mod. Pretty much, effectively single-handedly, outside of input from a few of us here and help with testing. So really well done to him. And I'm not sure if it is. I believe it is. I believe it's a first for someone to do 2 radios in one in Acre. So yeah, well done to him for that. And he's done an amazing job. One final thing I'll show you is that there is a model for this and the battery. You can see it right there. It uses the 3DMA model and textures, as that's the radio we use. But yeah, there's our 163. If you have any questions, as I said, the GitHub will be on the or in the video link, a video description link, as well as the Steam Workshop page. Just go there, see if there's anything on it there. If there isn't, then just pop a comment in the Steam Workshop, and we'll have a look. We're more than happy to look at bugs and what have you, because we're putting this out. And if there's any feedback, we'll always welcome constructive criticism and solid feedback. So please, provide it. Cool. That's that.